I think we're live.
I feel like I'm really zoomed in. Is that just me?
No, but we're live, dog.
Live it is. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, it's not live on YouTube, Mike.
I'm over here, dude.
I'm looking at my computer. Oh, we're live. What's going on,
Eric's saying what's up.
Hey, listen.
How did Eric get in? We weren't even live, and Eric was just like popped up, and he was just like, "What's up?"
Listen, we got a big thing going here. This is big. So, Mike,
okay, you're gonna own the show?
Yeah, I already own it. We can't see you, Mike. You do the half cutout thing or what? There he is. Look at that hair flop. Look at that hair flop. Oh man, that's huge. Hey guys, different broadcast way of doing things here.
I'll be the tech guy from now on.
Mike's the tech guy for now. Brandon gave it a shot, but he's better at just booking Frey. We'll just stick to that. We're still waiting on those podcast things to come out.
Dude, hey, I'm live on. I told you said you had them all ripped to audio. I'm waiting for you, bud. You said you were going to upload them to Google Drive.
I said I had them ripped to audio. You said you have done by end of January. All right, 5 minutes.
I'll upload them to Google Drive. You said okay.
Hey, 5 minutes of arguing. Ready, go. All right. Listen, this is huge.
Hey, just send them to me and I'll do them. I'll get them done quick.
Mike, I know you haven't made a sale in a while, man. So we're gonna have you kick it off.
Dude, I make like 3 a year if I'm lucky.
No, all right. What the hell? Hey, we're gonna have you kick it off. Give us a little background on yourself. You know, where you started, where you came from, where you got to, what kind of shampoo you use, all that stuff.
I only wash my hair once a week. So been in the industry 8 years. Started my career back in Michigan with a company called Worldwide Express. Let me let Tony in. So started with Worldwide Express. That's really where I paved my career. I was there for like 5 years. If you guys ever listen to me, I always say, I give credit to Worldwide Express. They just had some elite sales training. I was never, we were taught from the get-go, it's an all-in approach, right? One-stop shop. So that's why it was like, to me, when I ended up transitioning over to another company, I didn't really even know that people I knew brokers existed, but I was just like, why the hell would people just slang freight, So traveled around a little bit, got really, I started really getting into enterprise deals, managed trans, and then I just decided, heck, I kind of want to just do my own thing. I don't think I guess I'm maybe a little scared to just be a consultant by myself. So I decided to partner up with Global Trans as an agent. Then I got introduced. It was a customer of mine, Frazier. He's the CEO of Hook Logistics. So we had to go through some legal stuff to make sure we weren't it was cool with Global Trans, but we ended up partnering together so we can fulfill a one-stop shop. So he does fulfillment and warehousing, whereas obviously Global Trans, your typical non-asset base 3PL. So that's kind of the rundown. And shampoo, I think, what is that stuff? It's not Biolage, but it's pretty nice. I mean, look at this.
It's solid. I mean, I'm an Irish Spring guy, to be honest with you.
I can tell. You went, Tony's in. But so 8 years, I got to just say, because I feel like all these people are like, I only, when I say managed trans, it doesn't mean I'm only going after $20 million accounts. I consider managed trans to be, or not even managed trans. I mean, everybody has their own enterprise, this, that. I consider when I go after an account, it's typically, roughly around 250 grand, and they're going to go all in with me. And that's that.
That's clutch. So, the dynamic is, when we talk, no matter how we talk freight or what we're talking about, it seems to always kind of involve sales because everybody, what do you say, Tony?
Always be closing, baby.
No, you don't say that, Tony. What do you say? Everybody's a salesman.
Everybody's a salesman.
Or everybody's in sales, right? Yep. So it always goes back to that. It's always very operationally based. I think, at the lower levels, I think you're doing a little more, bobbing and weaving, trying to find the avenues and the angles. And, what Mike brings is basically the idea of, hey, I'm calling the top guy. And we're going to talk at a top level. And, that's what we're going to do now. Not that he doesn't find different angles to do that, but it's just a different way of selling, and it's a little broader way of doing it. So it's pretty cool. So I want to kind of start off with, we talked about, getting to the gatekeeper, finding that decision maker. What do you, Brandon, when you're prospecting, right? When you're really finding an account, looking for the type of freight that you want to bring in, what are your three main ways of finding that decision maker? What do you find that's most successful for you?
Well, first of all, when I'm prospecting, I look for things that I know and that I do well. Not saying that I won't try something outside of the box or learn something different, but I would rather hone in on something or a mode or a region that I know and I know it well. As far as finding the decision maker, the gatekeeper, there's a lot of different ways. You got LinkedIn. You can Google. That information's out there, but that's half the battle. It's figuring out a way to be creative, to start that first conversation, and it's just being persistent and following it.
Yep.
So I don't know if I have three things that I stick to. I think depending on the day, the week, the situation, the customer, I think every approach could be different, and different things work for different people.
Yep. Tony, when you're chasing down a new customer, what's your approach?
I try to knock on the front door, and if nobody answers, then I leave.
Because you're selling Girl Scout cookies.
That's right, man.
I get it.
If nobody's answering, they don't want what I'm selling. Of course, I'm not selling anything, which is awesome.
So, right, but at one point, at one point, you were, you were the decision maker I believe in your last role, right?
To some degree.
Yeah. Okay. So now, if somebody were to get a hold of you and you were to be, obviously you got to get them through to a different channel and go through a different way of doing things. That's what, kind of call a gatekeeper. Do you approach it differently? Do you not listen as much because you can't make the decision, or do you?
Oh, I can make the decision, as you know, but I don't have any freight. Everything is local. I just don't have any freight. There's nothing commercial that's outbound. I think we have our one or two loads that are few and far between. But
all right,
I just don't have any freight. There's no need. I don't have to.
So that's the difference. Was before.
Right. Just be like it's customer routed. Half these people would just be like, okay, it's customer routed.
I can't even hear him all the way back there.
There's a lot of.
Sorry, I was lounging. I said, Tony, just tell them it's customer routed. Trust me. Actually put on your answering machine. Just put some hard ass answering machine or voicemail and just be like, listen, we're all set with care. I literally love calling into those people. I'm just like, dude, I'm one of the one.
We don't even have phones. We don't even have phones.
Dude,
if
I were a shipper and I had all these calls coming in, and obviously, I'd put on my voicemail, hey, right now we're not on board any more carriers, but hit me with your best shot. Give me your best pitch. Leave a voicemail. Let me see what you got. Shippers. And I've got those before, and I'll hit them with everything that I got, and I 99% of the time never heard anything back, but it's still a fun experience. But I wanted to add, TJ, it's not about the three things of finding the gatekeeper. It's that the biggest thing is whenever you do have the conversation or have the opportunity, it's asking the right questions and listening, right? And not trying to sell what everybody does, but finding out what their pain points are and asking those questions and building on that. And I think that's the important part.
My point was you can't do any of that unless you find the decision maker, correct?
Well, absolutely.
But I was just starting with step one there, right?
But
homework, period.
Right.
You need to write it on the whiteboard. Step one, find decision maker. Step two, everything else.
Does it have to be the decision maker to find out questions?
No, you can talk to the janitor. Yeah, just sell to the janitor. That's the best way to do it. No, you know what? Honestly, at the end of the day, whether you find somebody else or you go through somebody else, eventually your whole goal is to make it to the decision maker because everyone makes a decision, right? I think it's pretty obvious. But there are different ways to do that. that are a little unique. A lot of them people take the same route, but one thing that I've found lately, and I think it's been pretty cool. I kind of stumbled into it actually, but I talked to a sales guy for the company. So basically it was, hey, Chase, I bet you can't land this account, right? We got to do that now. We're at that point. And it's kind of like a challenge, so I'm like digging in I'm going every angle I can. I go to their website, right? And on their website down at the bottom where it's like contact us, I go in there and I type in and it goes like, what are you? And I put as a vendor, and then I put in there like everything like that. Well, I get a call from a guy, and he's like, hey, TJ, I saw you, put a request in on the website, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, and he goes, so you're a vendor? I said, well, I'm a carrier. Yeah. I mean, and he's like, carrier? What do you mean? Like my guy, I got trucks. Like I would move, if you guys had freight and move your freight. He's like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah. And I go, yeah, I'm assuming it's probably not, what you're calling about, because he was, in sales. But it was funny. We had a great conversation because, number one, he's a sales guy, so he understands what I'm doing, right? So you kind of relate with him. Number two, the relation that they have to get a referral from him is, there you go, is pretty big, because a lot of their sales are based on, hey, you order this product or whatever it is. I know we whether it's cabinets, your ship cabinets, whatever it is, multi-stop stuff, and you can have it within the next 2 weeks, or I can have it to you by Friday, whatever it is. So sometimes they rely on that to have their sale. But number three then is you got that referral base now, so you can push in, like I said, with number one, kind of relate with them. Hey, I'm doing the same thing you are, man. When you're selling, what are you looking for? I can get you some leads or some, some more, some stuff that I have that maybe works. Would you be able to direct me, to the right person, or give me their email, or put me in an email with them? And the guy did, and it worked. And I ended up getting to the decision maker. So it was kind of random, but it was, I started sitting down and think about it. It really makes sense, because there's a lot of times I'm talking with people down at the dock, down at the shipper. We had a time we recovered a couple loads for a customer here. They were actually close. So on the way home, I saw them, got pizza and stuff for them because they had to work second shift. They were overloaded. And I was talking to the guy, and I go, yeah, it was Circle. We're the one that recovered these 2 loads. He's like, God, I wish you wouldn't have. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, now we got to stay late. I'm like, see, so right there, it's already a different mentality when the people I'm talking with at the customer are like, thank you, saved us, and oh my gosh. And he goes, yeah, it's just we're so overwhelmed with freight. We're so busy. Our sales guys are promising customers this much by this date, and that's just part of it. And, and then they get mad if we don't have it there by then, but we can't load. We don't have enough trailers. We don't have enough room on the dock, and so it kind of got me thinking, how much that actually matters. Tony?
Hey, James Jackson from LinkedIn asked, how can you add value to your customers? And I'll say one thing, and maybe we can ride Robin, but one thing you can add value to potential customers or your customers is, again, listening, finding out what their pain points are. The only way in my opinion, you're going to add value, as someone coming into the network, is to find out an area that they're hurting or that they need help on, and being able to execute that well. It may not be the prettiest lane. It may not be the prettiest rate, but if it's a good opportunity and you do it well, that's how you can add value. Saving them 20%, probably not going to be your best pitch.
In 15 minutes or less. But yeah, I'd say, bringing value. You look at, obviously just in general, you want to make anybody's job easier. At the end of the day, you're usually in logistics in an incentive-based program of some sort, whether it's, commission or compensation, whatever it is, bonuses. And most people you're dealing with in supply chain or shipping are usually just, salary. And anybody that's on that, right? Whether it's up or down, you're paid the same. So you're trying to be efficient. You're trying to not have your boss, go down, breathe down your neck or get in trouble. So, you kind of become that expert for them, the eyes out there on the road, learning and digging in on their lanes and knowing their freight. They don't have time to dig in and watch the market all day and learn these things and know the capacity numbers and know all these different things. And so, you can help them with that, whether it's accessorials, whether it's, loading times, whether it's loading processes, whether it's, market conditions, whatever it is, that's huge value to them because they don't have time to dig in and do that. And when they go to their boss and they sit in a meeting and they tell them all the stuff you told them and how much they know now and what they're doing and how efficient they are, they love that.
Midwest Mike, how do you add value to your customers?
I gotta find a business challenge, right? Something I just think is like, you guys are still talking about, and again, it's fine. Like, you guys are thinking about shipping, and I guess my brain originally, even when I started, thought about how does the supply chain impact this business?
Yep.
Right? How does operations, how does everything impact the company's margin? Right? And it, again, like I say, is I'm not going to be the guy that you call up and I know if truckloads are high or low, right? But I'm going to be the guy that says, hey, listen, this is a cost to serve analysis. You're not properly allocating your transportation costs correctly. This is what it needs to be. It's going to put back 20% increase in your margin with those 5 customers or those 5 products. So it's like that kind of conversation I'm having with, an executive. And then I'll get into the weeds, after, I get that buy-in, then I'll get into the weeds. It's not like I think, maybe I come off like it's like, oh, screw shipping people. No, it's like, dude, everybody needs to be involved. And I don't need to go down that rabbit hole about how it's all siloed, but it is. But there's just so many different departments in companies that are, somewhat touching the supply chain, and it's significantly impacting companies. And it's significantly impacting companies from a financial standpoint, way more than any rate. It comes to a point. Really, I've asked this question. Well, we have good rates because you do get some executives like, oh, we've been through this show. It's like, well, what do you do? Well, we do this RFP. Okay, cool. What came from that? Did you ever have a strategy? Right? It's like, I can see if what you're doing is really driving out cost and increasing margin, but at some point, right, you got to think. You can't. I said it before, but it's like you can't treat your supply chain, which is, I would say, top 5 most important things, or in your company. You can't treat it like an auction. Like, I just don't. That's just not efficient.
And that's why I threw in it, because I really want to. You remember this last show you were on, the Hold My Beer, the sales one? We had Jake Dunlap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that clip I took when I put that mashup together, where he said, which I thought was a bomb statement, where he said, and they're missing that acumen. The biggest thing I see with sales teams is they're missing the business acumen. And that is so true. Sometimes you get too focused on the operations, right? You get too focused on the needs. But that business acumen, that acuity, and again, that's why I put that in, your first show. I know that's your approach, because when he was saying that too, I saw you just, yep, absolutely. Yep. You were right on it. I think that's a key balance to approach when you're out doing those things, because you got to be able to pivot. You're going to run into a guy that you're chasing down an account, and he is the head of procurement, and he's a good old boy from Tennessee, right, that wants to talk about operations and things like that. You're going to have that, right? Or you're going to run into a guy that's got his hair slicked back perfect, and he's sitting there in his perfect suit and tie, and he wants to talk numbers, right? He wants to talk about business acumen. He wants to know what you're going to do, what you're going to bring value-wise there, right? He just expects, with his level or whatever it is, he just expects that the operation should be good to go. If you're, taking his time, he wants to talk numbers. So you got to go in, with that, different angle, right? The different ways in which you can pivot. So I think that, again, my main point there is that's what Mike brings to the table. Not that we don't play that card, but that's his go-to, and I think it's a great way to approach it.
If you called on, and again, it's a harder sell, right? What I'm doing, and I hear, even if it makes sense, right? It's just sometimes, and I won't get into the weeds. It could be overcomplicating it on my end, whatever it may be. That's why you do need a decision maker, because at some point, right? It's like we all have a boss, and maybe. So, for instance, maybe the VP of Ops or maybe the director of logistics wants to get it done. But I have to, say it's a deal where I have to get, accounting involved, right? I have to get IT involved for integration. Who can tell those departments, hey, this is what we're doing, right? It's not a bad thing. And then sell it to those departments. Hey, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Hey, accounting, it's going to do this ABC for you. It's going to help you guys. Hey, logistics, it's going to do this for you. It's going to help you guys. So, for instance, Tony might be able to ask someone to have a 20-minute conversation throughout these, through the process, and say, hey, talk to Mike. He can ask, but I don't know. It's probably not going to, they don't have to say yes, right? So it's like, that's another reason. It's like, you don't know how many times I've been stuck in the middle where it's like, and again, I don't want to say I don't take risks, but like I've been stuck so many times where it's like, the mid-level influencer wants to get this done, but no, like, he's not the DM, she's not the DM, and they can't, and they're pushing and pushing, but they can't, they just can't get it done. And that's where that's where most of these deals that I'm in fall.
Well, and two, and this is just my opinion. I mean, you definitely have to pivot and be able to sell, different angles in different ways. But, I always like to say that you can be sales minded and operationally driven. TJ, you and I have talked about it too, coming up in ops on both of us, you can kind of put that on your hip as you transition into a sales role, because then not only are you selling at a different level, but you're able to know exactly what the operation needs behind it. You exactly know what you can do. So while I think that some people do get stuck in the ops, like, Mike had said, it's also good to have that in your back pocket. So you're not a salesperson out there promising the world, and then you have people like Tony, that you're offering everything up, and then obviously you get onboarded and get fired after your first couple loads. So
I kind of went I like that the way you put that, but yeah, I kind of went backwards on that. I came from sales and I was in sales forever, and then I actually started when I came in logistics. I was in sales, right?
Well,
and then
we are sales, right? It's like, so it's funny,
right? But I'm talking like that pure like chase down customer, land, that type of thing. So when I got into operations, and because I think operations is a little bit more mining, right? You're mining a little bit more like within an existing account too, right? I mean, just trying to build that too. But anyways, what I'm saying is that as I got into operations, I was already in that like prospecting about like, I'd sit down at night and figure out how to chase out customers. That's what we were doing, man. We were small. We didn't have anybody, like hardly any customer. I mean, we were, 100 calls a day, had to hit, all that stuff. So like, it was always on my mind. So like getting into operations, it was like, as I see a process, I'm like, if we make this better, that would make it so much easier to sell, right? If we make this better, that would make it so much easier to sell. It was like that way of seeing, like changing my operations to how I think we'd be more appealing, or how we'd be more, better off when it comes to, getting more freight, whether it was a new customer or within our existing customers.
Tony, I got a question from the shipper side. You've been in this a long time, and I think like Kyle Littner talks about it on K ratio. We talk about, bids or, new carriers or getting your foot in the door. From the shipper side, when you were doing bids or RFPs, and I know maybe not so much in your role now, but when you would go and put out RFPs, is the expectation year over year that every carrier is going to commit to these? Did you allot any type of spend for the spot market? Because what you see now is that shippers typically have the same RFP. They have non-binding contracts. The market flips, it goes up. They recontract at higher rates. The spot market volume decreases. So from a shipper standpoint, we talk about in sales, doing the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. But on the shipper side, in your experience, like what were those conversations like? I mean, what was your expectation year after year?
Well, when the guys come in and sit down in my office, I try to tell them as much as possible about the business, as much as possible about the need, as much as possible about the sense of urgency. And I'll tell them, hey, I will let you know if this is a 3-day transit time load or if it is an overnight that has to be somewhere the next day. I will provide that data to you up front when I'm asking, when I send, you quote these lanes with your rate, and back in those days it was hundredweight, everything was hundredweight. So with like a 40 mini and plus fuel, it was just easy to calculate. So everybody would come in and I could keep a spreadsheet, and it was super easy. The direction of the phone call changed and the money was saved immensely. Tons of money was saved, because instead of me saying, hey, I got this load sitting on my dock, can you haul it? To, hey, I got a guy going to Georgia that wants to get to Knoxville for the weekend. Do you have anything that'll get him there? Suddenly, when the carriers are asking me for loads instead of me asking the carrier for a truck, that leverage changed, and the cost was way more manageable that way. And part of that came because we did the quotes. We had the giant spreadsheet, lane by lane by lane on the one side, and carrier and carrier and carrier across the top. And you just filter it by smallest to largest. And then who's going to have your back. The cheapest guy isn't always the best guy. I know my load And I managed every single one of them to the point where I knew if it went out and had to be hot, was not hot, had to deliver, was just a normal delivery, or if it, I would go up the chart a little bit to the ones that I could trust. But if it was just about price and a normal load that was, it didn't matter if it was 3 days late because of some crappy carrier, then, you know, maybe I went with the cheapest price on that one. But necessarily, I weeded those less than key performers out because I didn't want to do business with them because they're going to make me look bad.
Yep.
It's easy to find those people talking to you when you just give them the information. If they're starting to take notes, I'm taking notes in my head that he's paying attention. At least he wants to learn about my freight. If they don't care and they say, yeah, I got a guy and we're connected to 16,000 trucks via contract, I'm already turned way off, dude, because you never have that truck when I need it. So now I know he's just going to broker it out to somebody. He's got an internal brokerage. Whoop-de-friggin-do. You'll never see your logo on the truck that shows up for the load when I call you. And you can find so much more about them in their sales pitch than they can about you. And I'm trying to teach them about me and my load when they come in. I weed them out faster than they know it. It's so funny. You know, nowadays it's the LinkedIn, hey, I see you have a nice family photo on your profile. I too have a family. Would you like to call? Can I talk to you for 20 minutes?
I bet you, bro, dude.
Lighting.
I mean, I'm sorry, man, but people think it's like, that's not value. We're different.
Right.
Get out of here.
I love those.
They Google the company and they say,
pandemic.
They Google the company and they say, I have immense experience hauling automotive parts. We don't supply any automotive manufacturers that, I mean, at least not at the plant that I'm at. Everything we do is boat and RV. That we do have supplying plants.
There's the first bro. There it is, bro. Listen, Tony's right, and Tony taught me a lot. I love it because, you know, where he was before. You know, we started, you know, on Mad Gains together, with Brandon and Mike. I think all four of us were on there at multiple times, but that's how me and him met. Started talking quite a bit, but plus he's you know 45 minutes up to an hour north of me here, so it's kind of cool. But so when I got up there and went and met with him, and it's right. We ended up, what did we do? We ended up talking to a couple of people in ops. We walked out to the warehouse, right? Looked at how even the process of how things are going, and that's something that I like doing anyway. So I told him, he said, you don't have to come up here if you don't want. I said, I like doing that. I like, you know, if I'm sending trucks in, whether they're my own trucks, my own assets, or another, I want to know, I don't know, there's something about it. Like, I want to know what it's like, what the process is, you know, what the docks are, you know, where, if there's parking, if there's not, if there's, you know, all that stuff. And so, because to me, I like seeing, I'm just interested and curious, but it's right. He's absolutely right. I mean, he walked me through all that stuff. He wanted to know, he was asking me questions too. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I think that's a good angle. It's not always how it's going to be, but it's kind of cool when it is. You learn a lot.
You know what's funny is I think you're more. I think now that I'm thinking about it, like, you guys are actually more salesy, more in sales than I am, because it's like really though. Think about it. Like, when you say, like, I dumb myself down all the time. When I say I don't know operations, I'm joking. I actually do. I don't know trucking, but like, I couldn't tell you. I've always said it, Wayne. I'm not talking about, I don't care about truckers. If you're listening, I'm talking about when I say it's like I don't know. I don't know.
Hate
but no, think about it.
That's
like
TikTok. That's TikTok. You're good.
It's a different. When I think about it, is like when you're selling like, basically, dude. If you look on LinkedIn in our industry, I just see nonstop people. Like, no one's really bringing any value, and I know that's probably going to piss a lot of people off. But like, it's the constant same old stuff. Rates, right? It's like, or you take a consultative approach, and then that's really where you start using your brain. That sounded bad, but like, that's when you start using your brain and really thinking outside the box of like, how do we enhance efficiency, automate some certain things, do different things. That's where the operational piece comes in, right? Because I mean, think about it. It's like a puzzle, right? Or it's like a maze. Someone's supply chain's a maze. Everyone's different, and you have to, like, you could tailor everything specifically to that customer. So
like, you're not in sales, you're in business analytics, and you just provide a solution that helps them in their business analytics.
I just like, yeah, I guess I mean, not even the analytic part. Like, I just think it's funny. I was talking to a customer of mine, and he was like, you're good. And I go, I'm not even selling you. Like, I'll just straight up, like, it's like, listen, you 500 grand a year and you're using all these people. You're not a big fish, dude. You're not like, you got to play to your strengths. Like, it's like, dude, you think Kobe Bryant's going to go post up Shaq on a one-on-one game? No, hell no.
Yeah, absolutely he would, for the record.
Oh, I don't watch sports, but you know what I mean. But you know what I'm going at, right? It's like, you have to play to your strengths. And that's the biggest thing is it's like, I see so many companies like you trying to act like they're like, listen, even $5 million. I've taken multiple accounts from top level 3PLs that had it all that don't really give any boutique service to them. And that's $5 million, right? So it's like, you got to just play to your strengths, especially like I'm really big in the CPG industry. It's like, dude, you can't, there's way more things you got to think. What?
In the what industry? CBD?
No, CPG, consumer packaged goods or food and beverage. Right. But it's like, those big players can literally, let's face it, someone's going to take their freight, right? They can literally, like, Kellogg can throw their weight around and Kellogg can take the $40 million in chargebacks and not be really phased. The company that's doing $30, $40 million in sales a year, that could really ruin them, right? It's either one, if they're going into big box retailer, right? If they don't have their stuff on point, their supply chain, if they're not getting killed with chargebacks or discrepancy fees, or
is that why you like that industry? Because there is so much money to be saved there.
I mean, really, yeah, because that's why it's like when I say like small to medium sized companies, their volume. I think like I said, the largest was 19 million, but a small company feel there's a lot of things that go into, shipping into, I'm sure you guys are well aware, but shipping into, distribution centers, into Walmart, all those things. You know how much chargebacks? I won't say the name, but like some of these big companies are literally, oh, we're just going to eat the cost of 40. I shit my pants when I heard that. I was like, wait. You want cheaper rates, but you just said you're going to have $40 million in chargebacks from Walmart. I don't think rates is what you need to look at. I think you need to build out a root cause analysis and figure out how to mitigate those chargebacks. But it wasn't like they were a big player. But you take that to a smaller company, maybe, like I said, maybe it's $1 million, right? Maybe it's $50,000. $50,000 is a lot. So it's like that could ruin a company. And then on top of that, if it doesn't ruin the company, maybe Walmart says, hey, you're a commodity. You know how many people sell protein bars? And we don't need you. You're not getting your stuff here on time, on full. We're not giving you any more POs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mike.
Well, the hard part about the type of selling that you do, Mike, and obviously where TJ and I have come up is that, your type of consultative, coming in from a different angle is great. But a lot of these younger guys, they don't have that option. It's pound.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And so, and that's what the value that you're going to add on the show is coming up with a different perspective, because I think that you can intertwine, some of the stuff on the sales broker side with kind of consultative of kind of what you do, and, learn to ask those questions that may not be as in depth as that you're going, but, learning how to ask the right questions will get you a lot.
I think what it does too is it's hard for me to talk. It's hard, right? Because, when you're talking to people younger in the industry,
Sorry.
People that are younger in the industry, right? That it's hard to tell somebody to really focus on the long game. Like, if you want to be successful, be good, and make money, and you got to play the long game and learn, right? Like, learn along. So, like Brandon said, you're getting those accounts. You have to, right? But that's where you learn everything. That's where you learn those things, right? But what Mike showed, like what Brandon says is that long, like, how do you get to that point? How do you get there? There's a point you can get to that point where you're talking to, people at that level, right?
You got to start, dude.
Yep. You just got to, but you've gone through, right? You've gone through all those different, you got knocked down. You learned all these things.
I started my career literally going through industrial parks, asking, "Hey, my name's Mike with Worldwide Express. Can I see the business owner?" Like, dude, it's actually funny, but that's where I started, and it's like, you just got to do it, right? And you don't. When I always stress this too. It's like everyone at a different company, everyone has different different values they can bring. But if you work for a decent sized 3PL and you can offer, the standard, if you have like a cloud-based TMS, or they can book all their carriers, whatever. If you have that, it's super simple. Like I was going in and I was made it to where I was like, okay, $50,000 in freight. When I first started, they had to have at least $1,000 or like 5 LTL shipments, I would say, LTL shipments a week for me to go after it. And again, I started from there. It was like, okay, I sat down with the owner. How do you get billed? Well, we get all these different invoices coming in. Okay, cool, right? It's small still, but I said, hey, if you work for a company, 3PL, that you can consolidate invoices, that's a selling point, especially for a smaller company. It's like, dude, now they get consolidated invoices. Can you audit your invoices? So I would say start there. And it's like, I know that there's a lot more people out there that have to pound. And I'll do it for shits and giggles, but it's like, even just be real. Like I think about it all the time. And I know everybody's got their, whether you should say what you get paid or not. I think you should. Why not? It's like, I would want to, if someone was taking care of me, I'd want to make sure, that's just me. I don't want my guy that's taking care of something so important as, my shipments to my customer, getting nickel and dimed. I just don't. How do you get paid? Because that's a big thing. Think about that. My entire career, I've got paid margin off the margin, and I got paid off of residual commission, right? So in my head, it made no sense to me to do the bait and switch, right? It made no sense to me to give you a really cheap rate, win a couple shipments, and then be done with it, right? I was looking for the long haul, right? So it's like, no, saying that up front, yeah, did it backfire sometimes? Sometimes, yeah. But a lot of people that I did not know, that built a lot of trust. They were like, okay, cool. Because some other people might get paid off the revenue, right? And I would be scared about the person that gets paid off of just strictly, the not margin, but the sale, right? The revenue. And it's like, that's crazy. So it's like, I'm going to go probably, and I'm biased, but I'm going to go with the guy that shot me a call and said, hey, dude, listen, let's go open book. Just started out. I'll do my best. I don't know much, but I'll get you the resources that do if you have a question. But I'll tell you my costs. Let's have a meeting and figure out what you need this to be, and if it makes sense, great. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like
you start wrong, work your way to where you've got a camera on a drone, like Mike. You'll get there someday.
Shut up.
TJ's going to touch on this too, but I wanted to get your guys' opinion because the three of you guys have all experienced rapid, great, high volume growth. Mm-hmm. How do you manage that growth?
I saw Eric's comment there, and I think one thing you got to realize is the biggest thing for me was I was competitive, I was doing well, and as we were growing quick, is that sometimes you got to take a step back, money wise, to continue to take a step forward. Just in your efficiency and how you handle things. So whether that is bringing in somebody else, it's all who you surround yourself with. But with Eric's comment there, and I think the biggest thing you've got is you've got a sales pitch right there. I mean, looking for somebody to invest in, some extra help, some extra processes to continue to grow, rather than still trying to do it yourself. If somebody's going to put some money into it, right there. I mean, you're growing so fast that you can't keep up, right? So I think you got to look at that. You got to look at who you surround yourself with. Everybody that gets better ends up bringing people around them that ends up swallow your pride a little bit. But I know we went through that pretty quickly, and we were learning kind of the hard way just out on the on how fast we were growing. But next thing you know, they bring in a guy that he was a CFO somewhere, or a COO somewhere. I'm sorry. And is retired, and they brought him in basically just to kind of, help us out, right? Talk with us on what we're doing, things like that. Like, it costs money, right? It's a step, not like just step back, maybe profit wise for a little bit. But what it's going to do is set you up to be able to handle the continued growth and continue to grow. And so it's like almost like you're going to go real fast, and then you got to step back, reevaluate, and then work it a little bit slow, so that you're not, out of control with it.
I think for me, I worked harder more than smarter at times, and I had to learn that the hard way. Yep. I think as I developed in as a leader, I learned to delegate better. I also had some great people on my team that wanted to grow, wanted to learn, wanted to take things over. But you're always going to hit a ceiling. Now I know maybe TJ's talking from the circle standpoint. I'm going to talk about, whenever I was back whenever I was really into, really in and really in sales, I had a pod based, but I was managing a $20 million book of business. And at that time, that was the only company I had worked for. I didn't even know what that meant. And I think that was part of my success, is just really being naive in that way. But also too, man, I had some great people that worked with me, and I failed a lot. I ran some people off, but I was also able to grow some great relationships and mentor, and people step up and they take the lead. They take on challenges, and again, you always hit a certain ceiling, right? There was no possible way that I could have done any more with myself and a team of 4. And that's whenever I felt like, well, I want to get into leadership. I want to get into something else. And that's when I grew. So, Eric, managing that is definitely challenging, and you're going to fail. But I think if you find the right people that want to grow and learn and want to dive in, learning how to delegate and figuring out that if they do it 70% of the way you want it done, consider that a win.
Not only that, but I think people that, like, when you surround yourself with those people, right? Just the fact that you're in here asking that question, right? You're getting it out there. People that are successful or that have been through, that have had the experience, are attracted to that. Like they're addicted to that. When they see somebody like when you get to like a certain level, you stop really kind of growing with yourself. Say you're old, you've been through the ringer, you've already done it, you've grown multiple businesses. Now you're like you're turning around, you're looking to help. You're looking to give back. There's people out there that are just looking to give back and help, sometimes for free, literally, because they're just seeing your growth and success, and they're like, I'm going to help this guy out. So the more you're out there, the more you're talking, the more you're doing things, you're going to get that help, right? I mean, don't try to slow it down. I'd really work to just bring more around you from whether it's a consultative thing, whether it's an investing thing, whether it's a operational thing, whatever it is that helps keep you going at that pace. But you don't want to slow down as in sales wise, but you want to maybe take a step back on what you're looking at, what your mindset is, and how you're looking to continue to grow.
Not to go down a rabbit hole, but when you get to that point and you grow with people and you develop people, there is nothing better in life, or there's nothing more satisfying than whenever your people you worked with reach out and they say, hey man, you taught me this, you taught me that. Or better yet, when you have other people that these people went to other companies and they say, man, like this guy's awesome, and I can tell you from a leadership standpoint, there's nothing more gratifying, and there's nothing that's more servant than hearing other people do well. So I've brought people in and worked with them and didn't, when I was first learning to be a leader, that's when I first got it. We've talked about this, Brandon, but bringing them up, and then they go on to bigger and better things, because at that time maybe we didn't have the growth for them, but I still get texts. When you get those texts saying, hey, you're still the best manager I've ever had, man. You always taught me a lot. How's everything going? You taught me a lot. It's like, you kind of think back and you're like, man, I was stumbling back then.
I always think that, and I'm like, guys, you must work for a terrible place.
Hey, I don't ever get those texts saying you're the best manager. They would say, man, that shit that you kept telling me that I just didn't listen to. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You were right.
Well, it doesn't start off like that's not what they lead in with the text. But I'm just saying, like, they may reach out and you're talking, and then they're like, hey, great talking with you, man. You were one of the best managers I've ever had. Like, I learned a lot from you. Like, just those little things. And like, they're just saying that to be nice. And maybe because they just stole some ideas from me. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that little bit right there means a ton. I mean, it really does. There's something about it, man. And so just once you meet, it makes you want to be better. It makes you want to help people like Mike, help him out and his apartment and stuff. So, you're just looking at people that are needing help, and it just makes you feel better.
Remind me to Venmo him $1 and tell him nice one.
I already got one. Remember your bow season?
Dude, I was wearing skinny jeans grinding out here.
Grinding out in Seattle.
We have a leadership development program where I'm at now, and it's awesome that they invest in leadership and continue to motivate and train and help people grow. But I've had people call me up. That the last training we went to was one of the things that they were talking about was positive and negative feedback, and how do you accept that? And you should be willing to accept the fact that when people are giving you constructive criticism, that's an opportunity for growth, not a personal attack on you. And I take that to heart because I've gotten a lot of negative feedback over my experience in being a terrible leader and learning to grow and learning to become a decent leader. But I've always loved the fact that people have felt like I'm open enough to accept the fact that they can tell me I was a terrible boss.
That's a good thing, dude. That's a really good thing, dude. That's probably the best quality that most people don't have.
It helps me grow.
You know what else that is, though, too? My dad always used to say it. I remember my football coach always told me it, and I've got an owner here that always tells me is basically, if I'm taught, getting on you or whatever, don't. It's because I see potential, right? It's because I want you to succeed, whether it's good or bad that I'm talking to you. It's when I stop talking to you. It's when you don't hear from me.
Yeah.
When you got to worry. If you're
there's a lot of people that are just, let me get this. There's a lot of people out there, like, don't get me wrong, there's some assholes out there that just like think they're the shit. And eventually, I mean, they get spotted out, right?
People see through them quick, yep.
But then it's like, again, there's also to the flip side, right? It's that are really, they do it in a tasteful way. But I also would say is, I posted about it, but I feel like, you said something, Tony, it's like you've had some negative feedback and you feel good about that. Like they came to you about that. Like, dude, that's where growth comes from. Like, I mean, I don't want to get, this is actually, I do kind of want to get a little deep on this because it's like, I think there's a lot of soft people and it's like, you need to like, it's like, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and just say, hey, are these like, especially again, if you're young, I'm not saying, you gotta be some like, you gotta know your life plan, but you really got to start thinking about it where it's like, dude, who am I surrounding myself with? Am I feeling sorry for myself? And am I going to people right now that are just going to tell me what I want to hear? Because I asked those people out. I'm 33 years old now. And it's like, I'm sorry. I'm nothing wrong with them. You just don't need, I don't want to say need, but I want to surround myself with people that, again, are not shitting on me, but I know they're going to tell me what I need to hear. And they got a way about it to where it's like, hey, listen, this is, what you're doing, dude, isn't good. This is what you need to do, right?
You got to set your ego aside.
Yeah,
dude, that's the thing right there. It's like we all have egos to some degree, but it's like it's always been my biggest strength and my biggest weakness is I cared, right? Too much, right? And it's like
but that's the strength though, because
biggest strength and biggest weakness.
But that's your strength though that you care because what it does is it leads to that weakness leads to that strength. So like when somebody tells you that you're not doing something right or tells you, and what do, right? Your initial natural reaction is to either get upset or get sad or whatever it is. But what do you do though? You end up reflecting, right? You end up thinking, and what you do is you almost always end up working it back. Whether I'll get in an argument with somebody, or whatever it is, or a disagreement with somebody, or me and my wife may disagree on something, and I'm cocky maybe, or I'm a little upset or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, maybe even the next morning, I end up going back and asking myself what I did in that situation. Like I start thinking about my actions and what they said and what I actually did and whether it was correct or not. Like at first your initial reaction isn't that, but that reflecting, right? That because you care, right? Because I care about my wife, right? I'm thinking, what maybe I did say something, maybe I did do something, maybe there is something. And when you start reflecting and thinking about what you may actually have that realization of, wow, they're right. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it at all. Right. It hurt, but right.
And don't be afraid, even as a leader, to say, hey, man, I failed or I messed up. My wife always says, don't say failed. She doesn't like it. But, at the end of the day, there's been times where, there'll be an issue or I didn't handle something correctly. But I'll be the first one to come up to that person and say, hey, I didn't handle that the right way. My emotions got the best of me, or I could have done this a little bit differently. Can we revisit this? Or, hey, I didn't handle this the right way. I'm still right, but I could have conveyed it, or I was wrong. So, even in leadership, admitting your faults and letting that person know that, hey, you're not perfect, I can do better, goes a long ways.
You got to acknowledge that failure. You're going to fail. Well, I'm in a situation right now where we're not in a position where we can win. We're going to fail, but we're going to fail forward. We're going to fail forward again tomorrow, and we're going to fail forward the day after that. Well, Saturday. So then we're going to fail forward again on Monday. But when you can't do it all, you got to give it your all and then make a step in the right direction to where you can do it tomorrow. You got to take that step. It's okay to fail. You just have to fail forward. You can't keep repeating the same thing and then expecting a different result.
And you know what's going to happen? You can get yourself, the more you learn, the more prepared you are. I mean, if you really look at it, right? So, you're going to fall, right? You're going to fall, but you could fall a little less harder each time, right? Hey, listen, Brandon came out rollerblading all the time, with his elbow pads, knee pads, helmet, right? So, when you first start, you don't have anything, but you could be prepared, knowing you're going to fall, right? I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, is knowing it, being prepared, and bouncing back up.
The hardest part. Go.
I don't know. It's an ADD moment, but it's just like, it gets me so riled up. It's just like,
The hardest part is letting your people fail, right? Knowing that they're going to, but teaching them in that way to learn, right? That's the thing that I struggled with, and that I would jump in and I would just do it because, I wasn't good at letting other people fail. If that makes sense.
Hashtag that life.
People don't like it in logistics. I brought in multiple people because a lot of people don't have a background in it. It's hard. Like, they're used to being able to master something quick. They're a quick learner, right? But there's so much to learn, and they're like, I suck at this. It's like, I still have this thing that I send to people, like, when they're new. I'm waiting for them to give me that, because I sent it to them, and it says, be brave enough to suck at something new.
I think people half-assed a lot of things, dude, and that's not being pessimistic. I mean, I'm pretty more or less, I say, cautiously optimistic, but it's like, you really think about it, man. I don't know. Maybe it's just different, but it's like, you talk about your career and I suck at this. It's like, yeah, I think real people that are self-aware know what they got to do, right? They know. It's like, dude, it's like, at some point, especially if you're in your professional career, it's like, dude, either I'm going all in or not, right? It's like, do you want to be average or do you want to be great? And great, I'm not talking about to be great. You don't have to have I think talent is like, I mean, I've already had this discussion. I think that's bullshit, right? It's like, you can say what you want. Oh, I got talent and all this. It's like, dude, even the sales part, we're not even fucking selling. Like, you want to tell the truth. It's like, dude, be a human being. I think the whole aspect of people even being human is, that's why I'm so silly. I'm like, that's why I changed my headline. But no, it's just like, everybody just keeps talking. And you know what I think's got the really big ego? It's the older people. Just watch. I like listen to these. I listen to them. I watch them. I'm very observant, right, for an ADD guy. And I always think is like, you say something and then you could just tell those older people that for whatever reason, they're just yapping, snapping at you. Well, that's not how you do it. And I wanted to say for the younger people, which I was able to separate myself where I just said, fuck that. Like, I'm not, if I know for a fact I believe in something, right, and I know this is like logical and it makes sense, I'm not going to let any man, any woman, it doesn't matter how old they are, tell me, that you can't do this. And I think that's a big thing.
That older generation, though, that's huge. That's the key. And you're seeing it in our industry, too. That older generation, back in the day, there wasn't access to information like we had. Tony,
I don't even care about the information.
When Tony was growing up, he had to go to encyclopedia to learn anything. Like, now,
hey, I had a set of encyclopedias.
Resources and more efficiency way. It used to just be like, this is how I was told to do it. This is how everybody was told to do it. This is how it's done.
That's an issue, though. That's a flag. You want to talk about really, really getting into is this going to be a good business relationship? You got to look for flags all around. When I'm meeting people, I'm looking for reasons not to do business with them, right? I'm looking for like, what is a flag? Give me the flag now, right? Because let's face it, you don't have to be friends with someone to do business. If you're bringing value, I think that's well.
But I would say this though, you got to make sure you clarify. It's not necessarily age that does that, because the people that are going to be successful are going to be successful whether they're age, whether they're older. They already know they're going to have to adapt and change, right?
Oh yeah, the main thing that is like, if someone's sitting there, if an older person, younger person, just whatever you are, however old you are, and you're sitting there and you think that's the biggest thing is, if you don't think you can learn from someone, whether they're older than you or younger than you, it's like, I always said it. I'm a millennial with a baby boomer work ethic, right? It's like, dude, you gotta like
hard work.
It's like open-minded. But either way, we can get all we've been ranting about. I kind of lost the train, but let's get back on what's the topic?
I knew this was going to happen. I knew it.
There's been zero dad jokes. I got you.
Hold up. I got something cool.
I got you covered.
Here's the key. The topic was on sales, but when there's people in the comments that are asking questions, we're going to address them. That's what it was.
Here, Jeff.
Whoa, look at this.
Whoa.
Okay, I'll start working the IT guys.
Yep. Hey,
For Jaguar, Hitachi, can I get it? If you open up brand new HPC, you must attack from the inside out, learn from your prospects' business. Then they know about it, show the value, and add, improve it. Old JD, Big Jeff, old Jeff Dickinson. Look at that hat. Can you zoom in?
Dude,
my God.
I don't know if I can zoom in, but Jeff's the cowboy, man, and he's legit. Like, dude's Jeff.
Nobody wears a hat like that if they're not legit. I'm sorry.
Jeff, comment and tell. Didn't you like manage like billions of dollars? I talked to the dude.
Yeah,
the dude.
That's $1 million hat, literally. Not that it costs that much, but like only people that wear those hats, literally.
Oh, dude, my boy Corey's on. I worked with Corey from Worldwide. He's a stud.
What's up, Corey?
Look how beautiful he looks. Look how beautiful that guy is.
Big Jet. Look at that is that a mustache?
He's from Texas, dude. He's got I bet you he's got a Jeff Dickinson hat. What up, Corey?
I think we all bought one in Panama City on spring break, but
no. I got a couple of good ones. They're just not quite that right.
There's Shay Dixon. There's Beth. That's my girl Shay. She's in the room.
I got the dad joke covered this week, TJ. You're good.
What do you got for me, brother?
Hey guys, I hate to tell you, I got back from the doctor and I received a diagnosis that was just really hard to hear. Turns out I'm going deaf.
Jeff, I'm not telling you you're old. You're a stud. You
I don't
want to talk about a guy that literally blew my mind away. I literally probably for like 2 months of the pandemic after having a conversation with
Mike didn't listen to you at all, Tony.
I know.
With Jeff. Sorry, dude. I was looking at the comments, but Jeff talking about
I can't see the comments. What? You're the only one that can see them. Give us.
I'm just telling you, Jeff. There's no comment.
Logistics. All about visibility.
Jeff taught me how to like the FOB, dude. Switching over FOB, dude. That's all I like. I went on like this rant, like, dude. I literally lost sleep. Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome.
You lost sleep,
dude. I love this shit.
You don't sleep anyway, do you?
This show is going.
Hey, some of us like to actually learn what instead of writing on the little whiteboard up all night, dude. What does that say? Now you need me, now you don't.
Magic Mike.
I don't know why I did spirit fingers.
Nailed it.
Hey, you guys got any shit I can have?
Hey, how long's your girlfriend been standing on that ladder?
Holding the camera.
Wouldn't that be just so weird if like I just did the whole show and she was just in the corner?
What?
Hey, you don't have to bug me when I'm talking freight.
We're talking freight, woman.
No, I'm not off work.
See, I'm surprised she's still with me, dude. Like, this pandemic's been great because, like, I've just been able to like work so many different things that I've wanted to do. But like, I don't leave. Like, I put a couch in here. She's gonna be so mad. Like, it just came today. I was pumped. I was like, dude, I got a couch in my room. Dude, she don't even know yet. I was like, I'm not leaving.
We were talking last night, or we were all talking here recently, and Mike looks back. He's like, maybe I should put a fucking couch there.
Yeah, we go. He goes. I go. What I say? Something. What are you gonna? He goes. I'm wearing this, dude. I don't shower.
No, you know, hey.
He goes.
I went to Fred Meyer's, dude. I went to Fred Meyer's. Got nice. Nice.
Monday through Friday, we're moving freight. We're not showering.
That's what we do. Hey, you know what though? I love about that though. Just everything. That, when you get like, you'll find like when people first start in the industry, they're like, it's like an addiction. They get into that. So it's like freight, man. Everything you like start talking about is related to freight, and you know the whole thing about this show is like there's so much to talk about. You can always talk about it.
Well, it doesn't end.
Mike called last night. He's like, hey, the girlfriend just went into the store. I'm sitting in the car. I'm waiting in the car or whatever. I'm just going to give you a call real quick, dude. It's just you're always wanting to talk freight no matter what. It's a great thing because at the end of the day, every time I talk to either one of you guys on the phone, it's like you say something, and I'm like, something clicks, you know, and then the next day you try to implement it or whatever it is, or you give them a shout out on your whiteboard.
I have a whiteboard. Do you?
Hey, is Rhonda in the? Is Rhonda yet?
Get her on.
What? You're the one that sets the letter in. She said she's
Rhonda,
in.
I'll send you an email.
I already did. She got the link. She said she's got it.
Waiting room.
She's in the waiting room.
You got to get back to the control panel, Chief.
What is happening? Dude, oh my God. Nicole Gould would never have allowed this.
Nope.
Oh my!
Nailed it.
Let's go.
Hello, Dr.
I had-
RBZ.
I had so many comments.
Hey,
I'm
is
thrown
it,
off right now.
is it therapy session? I'm just gonna lay down. Rhonda, talk to me.
Oh my goodness. This is what success like.
This is what success. You got to be an idiot sometimes. It's just part of it.
This is all about that growth mindset, confidence.
Speaking about growth mindset, I just bought one of these things. I'm super, because I literally have to have only one notebook because I'd lose everything. You ever saw these things, these boogie board things, doodle?
I was wondering what you've been this whole hour.
Yeah, you were sketching, like when you weren't talking, you were just sketching and doodling on your boogie board.
Oh,
Yeah,
You know
what
what's funny is, I got a quick story for that. I was actually, I was in a meeting, I was probably like 2017,
yeah.
and an account manager was like, why are you, calls me out in front of the meeting with, I forgot who we were meeting with, but they're like, she was like, don't doodle, that's rude. And then the guy that we were meeting with goes, actually, I read a study that people that doodle actually listen more. And I was just like,
It's a creative process. Yeah.
I have to do something.
I got yelled at for doodling.
That's where you
All right,
solve the problem.
Rhonda, Mike, give me a second here, Mike. Rhonda, break down what you heard. Not the crazy stuff. It's going to be a little hard to decipher, but what you heard, what we touched on, and what your take is just from that mental mindset side.
I really think, kind of going back to what Eric was asking about, it takes a team for any ship to be successful. Find out who the captains are and who's good at navigating the path, and then who the labor force is, like who wants to get down there and then the nitty gritty and make the calls and help everybody move forward. But it all starts with having that respect for each other and willing to help one another during whatever challenge comes up. And if you don't know something, just knowing that there's somebody that has your back that you can go to for support, and like Michael talked about, like call you out on your shit when you're screwing up, but have that respect for one another, that it's done knowing that this is going to make you better, because it's,
How do people get to that point? How like Mike said, he talks to people that he knows are going to tell him what he needs to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I know when something happens, my dad is I grew up in a very strict household. He was a coach more than a dad, I know, but when something goes wrong, he's almost like the first one I call, even though I dread it. I'll sit there in front of my phone for like 5 minutes, but there's something in me that just knows that like I have to talk to him, though I know he's gonna hammer me. But how do you get to that point?
And well, that's a part of it. First of all, self-reflection is really important, and letting go of that ego, which, nobody who teaches us this stuff when we're growing up, it's all about winning and, try better next time. And, we're taught to suppress, when we're feeling like we need some help. Like something simple as when we fall down, when kids fall down, you immediately want to pick them up and brush them off and say, brush it off, it'll be okay, and go from there. But it's just, having the desire to become good and grow is something that we each find that in a different way. It could be something in our personal life where we need to focus on making something, a priority and change some behaviors. It's all about really behaviors and how we accept taking advice from others when we're not quite ready to do so yet, but know that they have our best interest at heart, and then giving it a shot and being honest with yourself. Sometimes it's a matter of stepping back. So if there's a situation where, say, a manager is giving you criticism, sometimes in that moment, it's really hard to take it. And you got to step away and distance yourself and then be reflective, which you had mentioned, TJ. And if you are willing to listen and you really want to grow and develop, you're going to want that. People that are successful, they want that. They want that honest feedback, and they're going to find the people that are going to give it to them, and sometimes you understand that sometimes people that you deal with, they're not really doing anything to help your growth potential. So it's time to separate ties, and that's okay. Because some people, some people have more aspirations than others. So
you fire your customers or fire your clients. Mike does that.
Hey, Rhonda.
Yeah.
So it's funny you said that. names, but I was about 2 years out of my career, and I had probably the worst worst manager, right? And didn't even really need one. There was no growth, right? It was more like I hated, no joke, like I hated my life. Like, and I was doing great, and it was just so draining. And it was like, but here's what I will say is, one, that's when I decided, hell, I'm going to go to a life coach, therapist. I went to a therapist twice a week. The therapist leveled my professional and personal life to the T. And this is what I will say is I would never take that horrible. I'm not, and there was a lot of other stuff that went on, but like horrible encounter with a manager that for that year, I would never take that back, because I think I learned more on how to just be calm and realize how to control certain things that I have to control that are out of my hand, and instead of wasting energy. There was a lot. Like I learned how to mute myself, go after I got angry, go take yourself for a walk, write some things down, figure out, have the emotion, walk out and do it. So it was like that year really changed it, because it was like, okay, if I can handle this.
Yep.
I learned the most from bad managers, and that bad manager gave me a book to read, and it was Emotional Intelligence, and I sat beside my bed for months, and then finally read it, but then applying it, and I think that's kind of like piggybacking on what Mike said. You know, I get mad and freak out and yell and but I think becoming self-aware and growing, you know, and whether that's through books or a therapist or a third party, but you know, that goes a long ways. You know, at the end of the day, we're in freight. You're going to get yelled at. You know, we're all demented to be in this industry and love it as much as we do. But you know, I think, like Mike said earlier in the show, self-awareness goes a long ways. Yeah.
And I will say, you know, we all have those experiences, whether it's somebody in our family and it's just family dynamics where everybody's argumentative constantly, and there's not a lot of I love you, comfy, patchy stuff. Same thing at work. You know, everybody has different personalities, different styles of managing people, and it's up to us to communicate ourselves what we need, because we're also responsible if we let that stuff happen, like speaking up for ourselves. So Mike, kind of piggybacking off of what you mentioned, my first startup that I did, the VP that oversaw me, he was miserable, and every time he came around, he had something to bitch about, and it was little things that really didn't matter. Come to find out, long story short, he had some issues in his life that were causing him stress, and then he was taking out on people around him. So sometimes people are not aware of how they're responding, other things going on too, and it's really all about trying not to take it personally and then communicating it the best way you can. So,
and some people are just assholes,
and that's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you know those people. You're just like, you know what? I'm gonna have to.
Those type of people intrigue me though. I don't know what it is. It's like I'm drawn to it. Like I want to like sit down.
You want to kill them with kindness too, right? Kind of turn them around.
You'll never. So here's what I say: is those people are not logical.
Don't waste your time or energy.
I could probably tell you. I'm surprised. I have thank God for my mother. Right, she gave me this head of hair. But I've so much in my early career where I was like literally just trying to push a square peg through a round hole to someone that was like, you can't speak logic to a non-logical person.
Yeah.
You just
nope.
Like, it's blue. It's clearly blue. He's telling you it's red, and that's it. Right? It's just like.
And that's one of those
feelings
things.
Are valid. Even if
that's one of those things where like problem solving, critical thinking, creative thinking skills, problem solving, you know, emotional regulation, all of that stuff is brain, like happens in your prefrontal cortex. And there's plenty of research that shows that some people just naturally develop those skills and those connections in their brains, and some people it just takes a little longer. They're there, which is one of the nice things. Like we are able to change our attitude, our behaviors, how we treat one another, how we react, you know, how we prioritize things in our life, how we show empathy and compassion. All those skills we can learn. It's just wanting to put the work in, wanting to do it, and then communicating to others, okay, this is what I need from you. And if that's not happening, then we need to figure out what to do about it. Maybe it's time for a change.
like I said, Mike said, like the non-logical, you're telling them it's blue, it's clearly blue, and they're saying it's red. I think it comes down to like what kind of even what you talked about, Rhonda. A lot of people that lose their logic is because they've got some sort of pressure on, whether it's the situation, self pressure, somebody else. So like, it's funny to feel like Brandon, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're talking to a carrier and you're like, dude, I've told you this how many times? Like you didn't put the in and out times on the BOL. You didn't show up on time. You didn't do this. Why are you? And you just continue to like, you owe me detention. You owe me. It's like, dude,
Get on tracking.
Listen though. This is my point though. When I got really good at handling those situations, it's because of my experience on the asset side. That half the time that you're dealing with an irate dispatcher that will not listen, has no logic, it's because that driver is all over him. And the pressure of him, that on him, and him knowing that he probably he's retracting that back on you. You know what I mean? Because that's what he's feeling at that time. And so sometimes when you recognize that and say, like, I don't know how many times I've said, hey, listen, I know the driver's all over you. Yeah, I know he's all over you. I understand the situation. I've been there. I felt that. It's almost like almost like what they want to hear. It's almost like you release that off them and they're like, all right, I get it. And they'd rather talk to you more. But that's a good point. You just got to recognize that sometimes.
I think it's just like what you said, Rhonda. And I'm going to share something because I'm an open book and I really don't care. I am who I am. My mom told me something. I was raised by my mother. And it was probably she dropped me off at college, and dads are supposed to give some talk or whatever. And I remember my mom said, "Don't be like one of these other guys out here that are going to tell these women what they want to hear just to get what they want to get. You need to be upfront. If you don't want to date someone, you don't need to treat someone like crap." And I took that like no joke. I've had 2 girlfriends in my entire life because I never wanted to waste anybody's time, and that was like a huge. It sounds silly, but that was a huge.
You don't gotta come on live and tell everybody that's the only reason you only had 2 girlfriends, Mike.
I get what you're saying.
Your point, Rhonda, it's like I've always thought about that. I'm mindful of everybody's time, and it's like, why not have set expectations up front? It's like, because guess what? It's a lot easier. One, it's easier. That goes to personal. That goes to relationships. That goes to business. Because guess what? When things hit the fan, you get to go back to that and say, hey, we had this discussion. Can we fix this, right? I thought we were on the same page. Yeah. Or you don't even get to that point where it's like, nah, I'm not feeling it like that. I don't want to, whatever it may be, right? It's like you go your separate ways. And that's where it's like, it's crazy to think, though. Little things like that stick with you. And it's like, I don't want to waste people's time, and I definitely don't want to waste mine. So upfront is the way to be.
Yep.
So, Rhonda, are you there?
Yes.
All right.
Talk to me.
So we're gonna wrap it up here. We'll bring you in a little sooner next time. But I think, hey, listen. I think honestly, and what I know for a fact you're good at is listening and giving people advice. So your segment, we may have to just change it to Mike's therapy session. I think you're going to be giving a lot of
the couch. I want him laying down, feet propped up, tissue box.
Rhonda, he's gonna be spilling his guts to you, Rhonda. What do you got for me, Rhonda? What can you help me with here? This is what
I'm gonna poke my eye up and I'll be like, wait, are we live? Yes.
So behavioral counsel is my specialty. So let's get in there, Mike. Let's see what's going on in the noggin.
Oh, God.
I will tell you this 100%. People need to work out their brains more. I'm all for it.
They do. Yeah.
I'll DM you, Rhonda.
And not to get on a whole tangent about that, but like
they can leave. You can just have our therapy session live for the world to see.
I would love it. Let's do it. TJ, put that in the notes for next week.
I'm writing it down.
Live.
Doodling.
Are you literally doodling? Can we?
Whoa.
What are you doing? You're taking notes?
Yes.
That's right, son.
Oh, come on.
Should.
Now you come on here. Yeah, it's fun to laugh, but I got some good things out of here. None from you, but a couple from Rhonda.
I get it. Hey, if I only had 2 girlfriends.
Finally, I got someone else to team up on TJ with.
Hey, if I only had 2 girlfriends, I'd be a little salty too.
Bro, we all can't be bald and beautiful, man.
Oh.
Yeah, TJ, you all can't have luscious locks like myself and Mike.
Hey, I choose to shave this. All right.
No, you don't.
I've had this hairline my entire. There's still hair there. That's all hair.
If you didn't shave it, you'd have a skullet.
No, there's actually you can't tell. There's literally hair there, but the way the light hits, it's so blonde.
I'm not hating on you. You look good. You got a good bald head.
You're not a bad looking guy, dude. I think
you look good.
Hey, you know my
looked
kids.
better before, but
What are
like,
you talking about? I don't need your compliments. Listen. My kid, my son Regan is hilarious. He says, "Dad, you have." He tells me that I have skinny hair. He's like, "You have skinny hair, Dad."
dude, that's like actually a good one. I'm gonna call.
And so we laughed about it. So then he thought it was funny, and then like my dad was like giving him like other tips, just things to say. So now like he always tries to pick on me for it. So like I don't really care, but like it'll be like Lillian will lose her comb or something, and he'll be like, "I know Dad didn't steal it," and then like run away. And it's like, dude, chill out on me, man.
Anyway, so what are we doing?
Hey guys,
Yep,
appreciate
we gotta
everybody
roll.
tuning in.
Later,
First,
guys.
yeah,
Thanks
appreciate
for tuning in.
everybody.
Listening to you all and look forward to it.
Yep.
On
Hey, listen,
format.
Yeah, hit me up.
we did it.
I have
Two
some,
people hit me up at the end of a show. Listen, hey, hit me up, man. Listen, we had a lot of people in the comments asking questions and things like that.
Do you want me to end? You want me to end it?
Listen, we have two. I'm trying to end it right now. We got
We're
Tuesday.
live.
We do the Tuesday topic drop. We do our topic drop on Tuesdays. So leading up to that, if you've got something, message us with something you want to hear or something, maybe even a topic you want to talk about that you think is important. If we see a lot of that, we may go head that direction. So hit us up. Talk to you guys.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
time, guys.